Are video games a waste of time? If you play them like me, I'm sure this question has hit you at some point. I certainly got hit by it many times. Most of the content you can find on YouTube is very black or white, I feel, and the side that is saying that they are indeed a waste of time and that you should be ashamed of liking them or playing them, I think that side seems much more prevalent. But I don't think it's all that simple, and I'm also not here to give a definitive answer. I just think that this topic has barely gotten the nuanced discussion it needs. I've only seen a few videos that do it, so here I am, trying to give it that nuance and my honest take on it, without judgment, but plenty of personal experience. Now, I need to make it clear that I'm coming from a perspective of absolutely loving this medium, while also being aware that it might be a double-edged sword. If you clicked on this video after watching my previous videos, which were very positive about video games, this might seem jarring for you, but I'd like you to hear me out on this. Hi, I'm Jerry, aka Scharfsinn. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. I try to post a new video every 2 weeks roughly. For now, just on any gaming related topic that comes to my mind, and if you like this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, it really helps me out. I just gotta say here real quick that I'm absolutely stunned by the support I've been getting recently, so thank you, it really means a lot to me. Also, if you're interested in cinematic montages or travel videos, or even covers, I invite you to check out my other channel, which is linked down in the description below. Alright, let's get started. Video games have practically always been a huge part of my life, all the way from being a kid to now being almost 22 years old, and the way that I engage with them has definitely shifted. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one. Playing video games as an adult just feels different than it did as a kid. There are many different reasons for that, I think. For one, just as a child growing up in a somewhat wealthy family in Europe or North America, there's a good chance that you, like me, had a lot of free time on your hands. Video games, as they can get lengthy, can fill that time quite well. And of course they are fun and often designed to appeal to one's fundamental needs, right? And speaking from my own experience, video games also feel much more fresh as a kid than they do as an adult. Of course, a part of it is just that, you play more games, you get more experience, you know kind of the structures of how they work, so they feel more novel as a kid than as an adult. But that's not to say that games can't feel fresh or novel as an adult. They absolutely can, but it's not quite the same, is it? Again, speaking from personal experience, questions and thoughts about whether or not playing them is a waste of time creep into my thoughts way more now than they ever did as a kid. Part of that is definitely due to just having more responsibilities, other priorities, and just less time in general. So thinking about how I want to spend my time becomes much more important, and I can only guess that as I grow older, all this will only increase, right? So far, I think these observations will be quite familiar to anyone who's touched on this topic before. What all of that doesn't even take into consideration, I think, is video games as pieces of media, as creative works, as forms of art, if you will. I've played many different video games in my life, and a good chunk of them are just genuinely amazing things that people have created. And it could be anything from a brilliant story to something that really pushes the limits of such an interactive medium. And none of this ever seems to get mentioned in the conversation about video games and time, I feel. And so I wonder if the people who tell others that they should stop wasting their time with video games are even aware of the brilliance that video games can show. Another thing that's also not mentioned really in this conversation is the fact that there's a vast amount of variety in the landscape of video games. There are so many different genres and subgenres. There's practically no limit to how short or long a game can be, or how many different ways there are of engaging with a game. Engaging in a short puzzle-focused atmospheric game like Inside is not the same as, say, playing a endless live service PvP arena shooter like The Finals. Of course it isn't. And so I think putting all of these games in one box and saying they are all like a waste of time or all equally brilliant even, it's just not true. There's such a breadth there, just as there is with books and movies and TV shows. Video games, like books and movies, can be entertainment, art, education, or anything really. And there's just as much variety in them. But still, video games all seem to get put into a single box from outside perspectives. The term video games probably doesn't help with that, right? To play games does imply that you do it for fun, after all. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it does affect how the medium is perceived. Now, I think there's no denying that playing video games can be very addicting. I know that a lot of people have put in hundreds or even thousands of hours into a single game, and I myself have definitely been there, that I've spent entire days doing nothing but playing video games. That hasn't ever really happened to me with books or movies, apart from a film festival I attended once, or I've heard from some people who have done that regularly. This may just be about subjective preferences, but there are also structures in video games that are obviously purposely built to make you want to keep playing, like all those progression systems, all of their forms really. And playing video games all day rarely feels good in my experience. The truth of it is that making progress in a video game generally, unless you're playing a game that's specifically designed to teach you something, does not translate to any real achievements, which is also a common argument of the side that's demonizing video games as time wasters. And yeah, I don't know if you can deny it, unless you're playing a game with the express purpose of education, that it doesn't really bring you forward in life. But then again, this way of thinking can also be questioned, like what actually are real achievements, what actually is making progress in life. I mean, probably some examples would come to your mind, like building relationships, working on one's body and mind, building a career, building a family, a home, all of that. I know I took a hard turn from video games here, but stick with me for a moment, because I think thoughts like this naturally arise when you start thinking about whether or not something is a waste of time. Those things are norms and expectations of what life should be, of what we should spend our limited time focusing on. But just as a thought experiment, ask yourself if making progress in life is all you want your life to be about. If engaging in something that doesn't make progress is truly a waste of time. Do we always need to make progress every second of our waking life? I'm exaggerating, of course, but I don't think so personally. Then again, maybe I and many others are straying too far into the opposite direction. But don't just take my word for it, just think about it yourself. Are video games something you want to spend your time on? How much time do you spend with them? For what reasons do you engage with them? I only know from my personal experience that making my life exclusively about video games isn't satisfying for me, and I'm probably not alone in that realization. Making content about them, discussing them, perhaps even making a living through them definitely can be. I mean, I wouldn't know, but only playing them and consuming content about them all day long in my experience isn't. It might be different for you, but that's how it is for me. Though I feel that this goes for consuming any media all day really. Why do video games specifically get targeted then? Maybe because of how popular they are? Because of how addicting they can be? Or just because of how time consuming they individually can be? It's hard to say, it's probably an amalgamation of all those things. In any case, I'm not giving anyone an epiphany when I say that balance is key with consuming any media, be it for fun, for education, or anything else. If it's too much, you will probably feel it sooner or later, or well, the people in your life might. Maybe one day you realize that video games have taken over your whole life and you want to make a hard cut, removing them from your life entirely. Maybe you naturally cut down on the time you spend with them because you're losing interest, or you have less time, have other priorities. Maybe you're watching this video and you're happy with the amount of video games and content about them that you consume. I myself am torn about this. For example, I remember my time playing Elden Ring fondly. All 135 hours of it truly was a special experience that will stay with me for a long time. But I also think about how I spent entire days doing almost nothing but the essentials like eating, going to the bathroom, working out, maybe the occasional walk, and playing Elden Ring. Was that experience, despite how singular it felt, really worth all that time? Honestly, I don't know. I don't regret it, but I wonder, would I do something like that again? Should I do something like that again? Then again, I've only really done this when I've had a lot of time on my hands. There is no right or wrong here. I can't stress this enough. I just hope that what I've said on this topic has made you reflect on your experience with video games, how much time you want to spend with them versus how much time you actually spend with them, how they have shaped your lifestyle perhaps, and how your consumption of them has changed over time. These might all be uncomfortable thoughts. Trust me, I know. For me they certainly are. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below regardless. I feel like I've only scratched the surface of this topic. If by any chance you've watched this far and don't even play video games, your thoughts on all of this are absolutely welcome too, as long as you stay respectful, okay? I don't want to see any shaming in the comments below, just be polite, okay? I thank you all for watching this video and I hope to see you again in the next one.